rescue us.
Off to the land of sleepy time.
Okay, I'm recording already. Oh, fuck.
Okay.
Who's hosting?
Technically, if it's 50
Hello and welcome to the tripod. We don't know who's hosting.
Sean?
Yeah, I'll host though. Okay, right. How did they let us on the air?
That's how our meetings go, ladies and gents. That's just how we roll. And who wants the host? I'll do it, I suppose. Yeah, and yeah. Work away, Sean.
How did they let us on here for a year? Like,
Mad.
Jesus. How haven't we been sued? Actually, is I'm surprised about.
I'm quite upset about that, to be honest.
RTE are coming after us, but we're not allowed to talk about it. So
Yeah.
sorry, RTE. Apologies for robbing the primetime theme music.
Okay, we're going to get into this.
Welcome to the tripod.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 52.
Yeah.
5-2 of the tripod. My name is Sean O'Riordan. I am the youngest host of this tripod podcast. I have been for the last year, and I will continue to be the youngest host of this podcast. And I'm joined, as always, by Ronan HD and Kevin Hennessy.
Hello, everybody.
Co-host.
Good evening. How are we? I'm the best looking host of the tripod.
Especially with that hair. Oh, Lord Jesus.
Please don't draw attention to the hair.
Everybody look at Ronan's hair. If you're watching this on YouTube, look at his hair. If he's here
if you
or
thought the
down
hun
here,
bun was bad.
just look at his
There
hair.
was a lot going on in the hair at the start there. Yeah, we had to rein it in a bit. He went from
happy birthday, lads.
I know. Wow. Like, I don't know how to feel.
It's
almost kind of like unbelievable in terms of like literally how is it possible that we lasted this long? But also extremely grateful that we lasted this long, because we wouldn't have lasted this long if we hadn't our lovely listeners.
Yeah, this is true. I mean, it feels like it's also been about 5 years.
Yeah,
because you know what I mean. Like it's one of those things. But what a year it has been.
Quick year. Like, I mean, it was a quick year, but as you say, Kev, it does feel like it was very long as well.
Yeah, and like you don't forget, like 52 weeks of coming on here to talk to you lads.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's been tough.
Like
it's been difficult at times.
I don't know how I've lasted, to be honest.
Yeah, neither do I.
It's been fantastic. I've loved it most minutes of it, not every minute.
How can you say that you don't know how you've lasted when if we made a t-shirt for Sean, his quote would be, "I was on top of a mountain." Your quote would be, "With the two littlest lads in the land," and mine would be Kevin.
Yeah. This is true. Speaking of, we have a guest. No, he doesn't want to come.
It's not McKinnon, is it?
Peter McKinnon, he's right here on my kitchen table.
That's unbelievable.
Oh, here he is. Look, he wants to get in on the action.
Did he take out that barring order on you yet, or?
No, not yet. And he hasn't blocked me. He just deletes comments. So, like,
I think that's worse, guys, because he's like making you come back, and he's just going to delete it.
Yeah, exactly. He's like taunting me. Come on, try it again.
Yeah.
But look, I'll never fail. Year 2 is the year of McKinnon.
Before we get into this episode, how was your week?
Oh, I got nervous there. I thought you were going to drop a bombshell like you were leaving or something.
No.
I got scared.
Maybe later.
My week was grand. I had a photo shoot with a friend, which was lovely.
I saw the images.
Her name is Chloe, very talented musician, and she does like yoga and that kind of crack as well now, and mindfulness and all. So it was great. Like, she was very prepared, which was brilliant. Really photogenic, which was brilliant, and she like just kind of knew what she wanted in her head. So she's like, and we got like almost five different shoots done in the one day, like in like 2-3 hours. It was deadly
nice, and the light was nice.
Oh man, sun, like the golden hour light was most delicious.
Yeah.
And then the sunset was perfect. Like, we were racing down, so we were in Dunleary. We were in Dalkey first, and then we raced down to Salt Hill. Not your Salt Hill, the other Salt Hill.
It's like you would have been some race to get from Dalkey to Salt Hill in 20 minutes.
But like just because you could see that the sunset was going to be amazing, and it was. And the best part was that the shoot was supposed to be on Wednesday, and I made a judgment, and I was like, I don't think it's going to be as good. I was like, I think we should wait till Friday. And
Go on,
so thankful.
My man,
Waited till Friday.
predicting the weather.
Yeah, thank you, Sean.
Ronan,
Are you
Where did
high-fiving
you-
me? Or-
Where did you learn how to predict the weather, Kevin?
one of the episodes of this deadly podcast that I listen to, and strangely enough, host. Bizarre.
It's funny to see little things like that, like the growth in all of us through the years or through the
Big
year.
time.
Like
Big time.
when we started this podcast, we hadn't a bloody clue what we were at, and now I have like this giant robotic claw thing in front of my face, and
yeah,
we've evolved so much. Like it's mad.
that is true. We've learned new skills, like even in terms of like we've learned like about audio production.
Well, I haven't.
Yeah, Kev.
Yeah, some of us have. Some of us have.
I've learned literally nothing about this side, so you continue.
Do you know what else is nice? I was out, and I must give a big shout out to Josh and Ashling, Josh Matthews and his girlfriend Ashling. We were out shooting Astro last night, and two very talented astrophotographers here from Galway, and we were talking about something in the end, and Josh said, "Oh yeah, 'cause I learned that from the tripod." And first thing I said is, "You definitely didn't learn that from the tripod." I said, "No, I actually did." Like, and I was like, "Oh, we're just slagging." I was like, "Yeah, no, we do offer nuggets of knowledge, but it's nice when you actually hear someone say, like, you know, I genuinely learned that from the podcast." Like, you know,
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
it is.
It's pretty cool.
It's
also pretty rare.
It is.
What's
yeah.
rare is wonderful.
What's,
you know what I mean?
what's rare is wonderful. That's it. That's it. People come for the entertainment, and when they get hit with that nugget of knowledge, just boom. There you
That
go.
is exactly it. Like it's a bonus if you're learning something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Ronan, how was your week? You were had you a wedding this week, or were you doing? You were editing your wedding.
I was on the edit this week. I've employed a new editing technique, because I remember I said ages ago that I was trying to like automate everything, and I've cut out one of the automation steps now, and like I can do the full edit in a couple of hours, and it looks delicious, and it uses like a Photoshop action to randomly generate overlays so that there's always nice light in every photo and all. It's the mutts nuts. It's pretty cool.
That is awesome.
I have to actually
You'll
find time
You'll have
now.
to do an episode on that, Ronan. That sounds. That sounds.
Yeah,
interesting.
that's good actually. Yeah, Photoshop actions and batch processing and stuff.
You should
Yeah,
sell that process.
I'm gonna get it like refined and dialed in, and then sell it for €7 million.
Absolutely. I mean, why not? Like, I can see no flaw in that plan. at all.
Speaking of
No
actions,
flaw in anything I've ever done ever.
No.
I actually do have a bombshell to drop. I
You're
bought.
pregnant.
No, not
mine.
not again. that was a negative test. I bought
Pregnancy test.
the P word
You bought presets.
presets.
Oh, okay. Tell us more. Where did you buy them? Why did you buy them? What?
I thought I was expecting way more of a shock reaction because of all the negative press you gave.
Oh, I mean, look, I'm just curious, and then I'll give you an air
So
bash
they're
and a tongue lashing.
Alan Wallace's presets, the astrophotographer from Wales.
Okay.
They're fantastic. They really are good. Now, a lot of them. So what comes with the presets is don't look at me like that, Ronan.
You disgust me.
You get 10 global adjustments, and then you get 9 custom brushes to use in Lightroom. So like making the Milky Way pop, etc. And like you could make them yourself. It's just like clarity and everything, but it's just done for you, like, you know, and you can refine it in yourself. So they're handy enough. Like the colors and everything, I've learned a bit. So
You've changed, Sean.
I bought presets. I know. I always felt filthy, like when I pressed the preset.
Dirty.
Like, oh, like it's just like bleh.
But you know what? In fairness, right, as I've always said, and as we've said on the podcast before with presets, the difference is you know how to achieve all of those things.
Yeah,
You're kind of just doing it to speed things up.
exactly. It's way faster now.
That's
Yeah.
allowed.
And I also know how to like manipulate the preset to my liking. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
We'll allow it. Not happy about it, but look, it's done. Nothing we
I
can
had
do about it.
I had some week of photography.
You
God.
were
You
literally
did. Your
flat
Instagram
to
story
the
was.
mat.
I don't know what happened. Actually, I do know what happened. I just I got such a motivation or a drive this week. I wanted this particular shot. So the first hut I went to, the first night, it was like clear skies, and I was like, I knew exactly the type of shot I wanted over that, like hail showers, moody skies. So I came back on the Thursday night, got that. I was like, nice one. Or tried the Wednesday night, I think. And then I saw more kind of hail showers and nice weather predicted for the Friday evening. And I remember driving along this road in Connemara, and I looked into the right and I saw a red roof. All I could see was a touch of a red roof. I couldn't see anything else. I said, oh, lad, there's something in there, definitely. And so I pulled in, double parked inside the road, put on the flashers, and I got out Google Maps, and I looked in, I could found a trail into it. And there was only an hour until sunset. And I was like, okay. And I knew sunset was going to be good. So I was like, oh, lads, if this doesn't go right, if this is like a bust, then I'm going to miss a class sunset, because like I wouldn't have time to go anywhere else.
Yeah.
So I basically sprinted in with my camera gear into this, and I found it. I was like, oh, she's a good one. She's a good one. So yeah, that worked out well. And then last night, and I don't recommend this to anyone, I shot sunset. I slept for an hour. I shot astro. And then I shot sunrise on the way home. I didn't really shoot sunrise. I hadn't really intended on shoot. It was nice. I just threw up the drone. But I had my first go with the tracker, with the star tracker, and that went really, really well. So yeah, my camera's just cooling down now. It's
I'd imagine so.
I don't know where to start now. I almost have anxiety, because when you experience really good conditions as a photographer, you're almost afraid to look at the images in case you didn't do the scene justice, which often happens.
Yeah.
Like,
I am the complete opposite of that. I just get too excited and I want to like jump straight in.
Yeah, that happens, all right. But like, you just have this like because you witnessed this like live.
Yeah, you saw it in real life.
Yeah, and then if the image doesn't do it justice, it's almost demoralizing. But
Just put one of your presets on it, Sean.
Oh,
Nice.
I'll tell you a funny story right before we go. For the listeners, this is we actually have an episode planned tonight. We're not just rambling.
Do we?
Yeah, we do.
What? I didn't get that email.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about the year that has been, what our expectations were. Did we live up to our expectations? Did different things happen that we didn't expect? Obviously they did. And yeah, we're going to go from there. But before that, lads, I've a story to tell you.
Give it to us.
It's a question first, right? And I'll give you the question, and you can be pondering that while I'm telling you the story. So
I enjoy questions.
Yeah, I know you do. I don't. Like, I'm scared from the quiz.
Definitely know that.
that.
We know that. That's for sure.
I was sorry. How do you explain to someone who knows nothing about photography what photography is, or why you take the images you take? Okay, so that's the question. Like, how basically photography we won't say for dummies, but photography for people who aren't into photography. Like, how do you rationalize that to them, right? So I was on top of Diamond Hill. So I didn't say a mountain. I was on top of a mountain, but it's more of a hill. So I was on top of Diamond Hill in Connemara last night.
Ankle socks, shorts. I had a jacket on.
I was not. I was in a jacket. I was wrapped up. It was freezing, and the sweat. Oh, the t-shirt was cold because of the sweat, and it stuck to me. And I probably have pneumonia now. But anyway, I was on top of it there, and the sun was setting at 9:05, right? And this was about 8:15, and I was just sitting down. I had my tripod beside me and my camera bag, whatever. I was just sitting down, and this couple came up. Middle-aged couple, and they were there with their phones, and they were taking these photos. That's lovely. Looking back towards the sunset, and of course the sun was still high in the sky, like, so it was just like a searing fireball coming across the water. The other reflections like white, it's so harsh. And the woman turned and she said, "Oh, you taking photos?" Like, I said, "Yeah, I'm up here now. I'll shoot sunset." Like, she's like, "Oh, that's lovely." And she kind of turned around, and then she kind of looked back at me again. She's like, "Do you want me to ask why you want to take any photographs?" And I said, "Oh, I won't like take any yet. Like, I'll wait." Like, she's like, "But it's lovely." And I was like, "Yeah, it is nice. Like, yeah, it's a lovely view and everything. But I don't want to take the photo just now. It won't be a nice photograph." And she takes out her phone and she's like, but here, look at this, look, isn't that lovely? And she shows me the photo on her phone. I said, yeah, that is nice, it's very nice, but that's not the photo I want. And she says, I don't understand. And I was just there, I was like,
I wish I was there for that.
Do you know who I am?
No, I was just like, yeah, you see, I was like, to see the way the sun is like really bright coming across the water, that doesn't look nice in a photograph. That's not the idea I want in my head. She's like, oh, right. And she just said, God, you're very fussy, aren't you? I was going to laugh. Like, and I was just, oh, Jesus. Thank God they went the way anyway. But, how did I, how could I, like, she also said then, like, like, if I can take that in my phone, you can surely do much better than that now with all your fancy gear there. Bear in mind, I had my camera bag like closed, like, and just so I had no gear on. And like, I was like, how am I going to explain to this woman that, like, harsh light, the sun has to drop down lower? And eventually, I just finished. I just said, yeah, I want to shoot it without actual sun in the sky, and when the sun sets.
Nice.
And that satisfies her.
Please
But, like,
leave me alone.
yeah, like, but how do you explain to someone who knows nothing about photography, like, why you don't shoot until 10 minutes before sunset or whatever? Like, do you know what I mean? You can't, like, can you?
Well, it's easy. You just tell them that, like, I love getting followers on social media. So
Yeah.
the longer I wait here for the good light, the more followers I'll get. So, like,
Yeah,
it's
you
fair,
actually
it's-
should have asked her how many followers she had on Instagram.
Yeah, you should have been like, I have over 10,000 followers and I can make
11,000
people
now.
swipe up on my stories. So, like, who are you, Sandra, to belittle me on top of this mountain? Like, have you heard of who I am? I'm always on top of mountains. I know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, on this
You're in
mountain,
such
Sandra.
a giddy mood.
Back off.
She wasn't belittling me. It was just funny. Like, she was trying her hardest to figure out why I wasn't
To understand.
taking photographs.
Yeah,
why I was
yeah.
sitting there with a camera and not taking photographs when it was this lovely view. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, and I can see where she's coming from. Like, do you know,
I've had that a few times though as well, because, like, there's people who just enjoy taking photographs and they don't understand the commitment you have to a certain look, or like, because we think in terms of, like, when we take a shot, we know we're going to go back and edit it.
Yes.
Whereas they love to be out in the landscape, and, like, it's a lovely scene that they're there for at that time, so they take their picture. Like, we have
a plan.
Yeah, like, there's more methodology to what we're doing, because we know, like, Jesus, there's about 25 stops of the dynamic range between that bloody bright, harsh sun and then the deep
rocks in
shadows.
the
So
foreground.
yeah, like, you know the shot wouldn't work out. Whereas if you snap it on your phone, maybe we should shoot more, like, off the cuff like that. Maybe that's something we should discuss and try. Because you do get set in your ways, do you know what I mean? So maybe it would be better to kind of shoot from the hip.
Yeah.
I do that sometimes. Like, I like to call it a crime of opportunity almost. You know what I mean?
They're shooting off the cuff, but, like, not shooting directly into a bright sun.
Well,
with
yeah,
the
yeah. I mean, look, we're not
reflection coming across
insane.
the water, like, Joe, like, yeah, like. So
God,
we
you're
didn't
so
reason,
fussy.
Because I've taken photos, lads, on my iPhone there, like, and sometimes they look deadly, like, do you know what I mean? It's like, more than happy with them. So yeah, it was a funny one. It was a funny one, like, do you know.
You're so fussy.
Yeah.
Good
But
out,
anyway.
Sandra.
Anyway, if any listeners have any interesting stories like that, please send them in, because I love hearing what the public's view of photographers is, like, do you know what I mean? Like, what they think of us, like, do you know. And I just thought that was a very interesting little thing that happened last night. So, episode 50, lads, a year has gone by, and look, I mean, what were our expectations at the start of this? Like, had we any expectations? Had we any, like, I know what I thought, but I'm gonna let you, because I've been speaking for the last 10 minutes. So, Ronan?
I would akin my expectations to delusions of grandeur. And I expected us to take the photography world by storm and end up the biggest and best podcast in the whole of Wicklow. And in many ways, we have achieved that.
Yeah.
So,
I agree.
like, anything that happens outside of Wicklow, I don't really care. It's not my business. It's not up to me.
Yeah.
No, but seriously, I think I wanted to build a community of sound people. I think we achieved that in the Facebook group.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've met so many sound people. Like I've made so many friends who are also into photography now, which like all my mates, like we're great at going out for pints and all when you could do that, but we didn't share any actual passions or hobbies.
Yes.
Like bar football and stuff like that. But yeah, it's just you meet like-minded people, and then there's always someone there you can text and say, let's go out for a shoot. And like it's that community was the biggest thing I wanted, and I think we've absolutely smashed it.
We have.
Yeah. I mean, if you think back to episode 1, Ronan, you called it the People's Podcast, somewhat jokingly.
Remember that?
Yeah.
People's Podcast.
But you know, like those words couldn't have actually been more true, because like it really is. Like, you know, everything we do is for the community, and you know, all the episodes we do for the listeners. And you know, like our listeners have suggested a lot of the topics over the last year. You know, they've really got involved, and they're just like, yeah, you said it, the community that's there is ridiculously good. You know what I mean? Like they're all just bang on, and yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, for me, obviously episode 1 we had Lucy Foster on, which was fantastic. Like, I mean, to talk about kind of setting the standards high from episode 1, you know.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, big time.
But like I always knew, and we always, you know, we all agreed that it was all, you know, it was never going to be we need to have a guest on every week type of podcast, you know. And I definitely think that the episodes that was just the 3 of us have shown that we don't really need the guests.
We don't need guests. Yeah, well, look.
I mean, I think some of the episodes without Ronan's show, we need Ronan. But
yeah, I was just about to say that.
Yeah.
If you look at our downloads, when I left in February, our downloads went down, and then when I came back, they went back up again.
That's
because I am the BBC.
Yeah.
Now I've said it nonstop. It's not me. I think my circumstances behind me taking the break affected the podcast. I don't think it was the fact that I wasn't there, because I had a lot going on and you two were helping me behind the scenes. So I think it would be more so that I think this podcast is our character, and whether there's only 2 of us on it or all 3 of us, like we don't need to rely on a guest like Peter McKinnon whenever you're ready to come on, Peter.
Like, Peter, we know you listen every week. Just come on,
Peter. Just stop playing hard to get.
Stop teasing
on the
us.
podcast.
Stop deleting my comments off Instagram, please.
The episodes with Peter Hurley, Juliet, Just Gone, Ben Horn, like
Mark Maguire,
Mark O'Brien,
Michael Killicuddy,
all those guests that were on. If it, like the listener doesn't see it, that beforehand they kind of come in and we all kind of chat before we start recording, and they approach it as if it's very regimented, because that's what other podcasts are. And nearly all of them, by the time we're finished recording, are like, that's the best podcast I've ever been on. Had so much crack. Like, we're mates with all our guests now on social media.
Rachel Tallybert, lads, like, she is the gift that keeps on giving. You know what I mean? Like, she's such a sweetheart.
Yeah, she really enjoyed it. She thought it was great fun.
But same with Peter Hurley. Remember, he said, like, he was like, oh, like, I had so much fun. And like everyone said the same. And I think that's it. Like, we definitely allow our personalities to really shine through when we have a guest on. You know? That
segues perfectly into my idea or my expectations of what this podcast is.
It's all about Sean again.
From the
Sean.
I probably shouldn't say this, because it's probably jinxing it, but I'm really loving the fact that Sean's getting the abuse from Ronan today. Maybe this is like year 2 of the podcast. He's just going to swip it over to you.
Yeah. Kev, I love you. Marry me.
Yeah, I'm not as sensitive as you, though, Kev, so it'll be okay.
What do you mean sensitive?
I'll break you. Don't worry. I will break you.
Lads, I can't even remember what I was going to say there.
Your expectations.
Oh, it was there. It's gone. I'm actually cross-eyed with tiredness. Hang on a second now. Oh yes. So for this podcast, right? When we were setting it up, I had it in my head that it was going to be just a podcast where it's easygoing. There's not too rigid. there are
Say that again.
thousands of tutorials, articles, technical stuff online to be found for photography, that if you do want to learn all the technicalities of photography, absolutely go away and learn that. I don't think a podcast is always the best form of media for that, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It can be quite boring to listen to be honest. So
Excuse
like,
me.
yeah, it's about striking that balance. Like, I think that's what we strike that balance. Like, you know, we strike that balance between an entertaining podcast, but we throw in those couple of nuggets of knowledge, you know,
And a few digs for good measure.
and a few digs for good measure.
They're
And
needed.
also, it was a podcast where I did not want to feel pressured, and you didn't either, to constantly put out stuff. And I said if we feel that this is dying or if it's gone stale, then I'm pulling the plug, because you do not flog a dead horse. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that's nothing worse than doing that. So that was a big thing for us, you know. And like, we know now that if we came out and said, look, we need time off there, we need to sort out or don't personalize whatever, the community will be like, yeah, take whatever time you want, like, you know, and we'll see you when you come back. And that's
They're
class.
so lovely, aren't they? Like, honestly, like, I mean, because I often think, like, you know, obviously, because we just record this and it's released on a Tuesday, and, you know, people listen, people will share it on social media and all. But when you think of, like, just a couple of hundred people every single week, like, without fail, tune in to listen to this, like,
Yeah. Bless their cotton socks.
it's mad, isn't it? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's very strange, but it's very, very lovely.
It is.
And like, all the messages throughout the whole year of support and loveliness and class.
Yeah, it is mad. Like, I've got so many messages off people, like, because you think, like, when you follow someone on social media, you wouldn't really call them a friend or whatever. Like, it's a different thing. You're following someone, but like, all the listeners are different. Like, I feel like I could go and meet up with any of them and like go for a pint or go watch a match or something. You know what I mean? It's like there's actual tangible connections there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna cry again now. It's just
it's just like-minded. When you bring like-minded people together into one group, like, do you know what I mean? So yeah, that was kind of my kind of expectations and ideas for the podcast. And to be fair, they kind of came to fruition. They kind of went as I kind of expected, like, you know, in fairness. No, I didn't expect to be talking to the likes of Rachel Talibart, or, do you know what I mean? Like, big guests like that. Like, that was that was
Mark
pretty
McGuire
cool
as well. Like,
yeah,
what a
that
man.
was pretty cool. Like, do you know what I mean? You just learn so much. Like, you just learn so much about people and about their photography. And I think one thing I have learned from this podcast is how how do I say it? Not differentiation. How different people's like opinions of photography, subjective styles, everything, like, you know, and that photography is it's a lot more than just landscape.
Yeah,
know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah. And like, that's why, I mean, I think it was always from the get-go, the fact that we are three, you know, different backgrounds of photography. Although we're all kind of similar backgrounds at the moment because there's nothing else to be doing.
Yeah.
It's mad. I actually haven't shot a gig this entire time.
yeah.
This whole podcast.
That's actually hilarious. You're the concert photographer.
This whole time, like, literally, I've never once come onto an episode and said, "Oh, lads, shot a gig last night. It was deadly." Like,
Yeah.
Ah,
That's hilarious.
Wow.
yeah. Fuck's sake. Oops, sorry about that. But yeah, like, I think that's the beauty of having like the three different blends or whatever the hell I'm trying to talk about.
Genres.
I think I've shot 5 weddings since this podcast started.
Isn't it?
Like, I'm the wedding photographer and I don't work as that.
So I'm the only one holding up my end of the
Yeah,
bargain.
good
So
man, Sean. Good man.
And delivering as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
like, we need to get the finger out, Kev.
Sean is the postman.
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 Law of attraction. Visualize it and just go for it. Like, shoot your shot. Do you know what I mean? It's
Absolutely.
I can't explain it. Like, it just, I don't know, just a drive. Just drive just to do
It's
it.
a
Like,
fussiness, is what it is.
Yeah,
and
As-
Joe,
as
partly
Sandra
is that as
highlighted.
well. Yeah, as Sandra highlighted. Yeah, I'm just
go on,
fussy. Like,
Sandra.
Was her name actually Sandra? That'd be
no, I had
hilarious.
a clue what her name was. I had the clue what her name was.
So Sandra, if you're listening,
You have to be a lecturer on
Get in
top of
touch.
Diamond Hill, but why I wasn't taking a photo.
Oh, why are you taking a photo? Class.
She probably walked off that hill then cutting the back off you. That snob, that light snob, with all his fancy.
Probably.
A light snob.
Probably, yeah.
Sean is a light snob, in fairness. And,
I am.
You know,
Yeah, I
you
am.
are.
I am, but yeah.
He has that tattooed on the small of his back.
I'm a light snob.
Yeah, I am.
We've
snob.
discussed that before about how that can be problematic. Like, do you know what I mean, in terms of setting your standards? But
Yeah.
if you manage it well, I think you're okay.
Yeah, I think
That's
so.
another thing we've the last year. That's the amount of topics we've spoken about. Have you any
Mad.
favorites? Any favorites that come to mind?
I really liked the color one, the color wheel, color harmony.
Yeah.
Jesus, my brain just went. Yeah, I really like that because I kind of like it was just interesting. I've listened back to that one because there's a few I've listened to a couple of times. Mark McGuire one I've listened to 3 times, I'd say.
Yeah, that was unbelievable.
You know what I mean?
It was a great episode. Yeah.
What will I say? The fine art debate for me was one
was
of
a
the
cracker.
most interesting ones I've ever.
Because Ronan was just sitting back like. You know
No,
what I mean?
Ronan was a big part of that debate.
But wasn't he like just putting it towards us then?
I used to be a big everything.
You're a big part of everything.
Yeah.
Now
I am the BBC.
Now you've glorious hair and
Oh, just stop with the hair. This curly mess.
it's gorgeous.
I am gorgeous. I know I am.
You are.
I'm the best looking host of this podcast.
Debatable. What was your favorite part of the year, Ronan?
Probably when I took a break. I liked doing all the color harmony and histograms and covering topics like that because they're things that are overlooked but are really interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like
Absolutely.
we did a lot of like we're famous for the rabbit holes, but a lot of our rabbit holes like are really interesting topics. Like Sean said at the start that one of the fears was like you run out of things to talk about very quick. But we've a list of things on the Google Drive there that we haven't even touched on yet.
yeah.
And then all our
Yeah.
previous episodes, like we can expand on them. Like we want to go back and do flash photography again.
Yeah, 'cause that was a
do-
great episode. In fairness, like that,
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that one.
And there was no planning in it. So if we
Sean's
ever
mind
get
was
the finger
blown
out,
that day, wasn't it? Remember Sean was just like,
Ah,
yeah,
I'm an enigma, like when it comes to photography. Really,
You
know?
really
So,
are.
Like, so it's great when I get those technical knowledge from Ronan. Like, do you know what I mean?
yeah.
and I get it from YouTube. So
Because we can expand on certain topics. There's definitely topics there that we could have kept going and talked about for.
Oh
hours.
yeah, absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? One very popular topic we're going to talk about, and this is what we want to touch on in this episode as well, is like future topics and kind of where we're going. But is the use of like editing tablets. So like the Wacom tablet that I would use. Ronan uses a loop deck. Different alternatives to accessories. There it is, the loop deck. Yeah,
Looks like a musical.
it does.
Voice.
It looks like a set of decks from.
I'd
DJ
love
or
to go
something.
with that now for a bit.
it's
But,
a phenomenal tool.
You're a phenomenal
Just
tool.
accessories to
I set
Speed up.
myself up for that one.
speed up your workflow, like, you know.
Yeah, and like we did a mini pod on smartphone photography,
I remember mini pods.
and that's something we could go back to. And the Flash episode is something we can go back to. And then there's all the other things we haven't done yet. Like James Baker was on a mini pod for portrait photography. It was so interesting. I'd love to get James on again to do a full episode. He's just a font of knowledge.
Yeah.
And like even offering the listeners to reach out to him anytime they need help with anything, like it's just so sound.
He's a hero.
Like the future of the podcast is bright because of that. It all comes back to being the people's podcast. Like, it's funny that I said
honestly,
that in the first episode.
one, and you said it ironically, like, you know,
Yeah.
and it could not be more true.
Yeah, like there's people who they've been struggling and asking for a critique in the Facebook group.
Yeah.
And people offer up like fair criticism of shots, and there's no fighting or arguments. It's taken at face value. Everyone has everyone else's best interests. Best interests at heart. But it's like it all comes back to that, yeah, and that's what I want more of in the future.
Yeah,
more episodes without Kevin as well, though. I think we do need to get Lucy and Juliet to replace Kev and Sean.
He looks very cute. Look, his little comb over and his little polo shirt.
It's nice, isn't it? I feel like I'm golfing or something today.
Yeah,
I wasn't actually golfing.
You look like someone about to go make their communion, to be honest with you. That's exactly what you look like. Stand in there now next to the bishop.
Jesus, Sean.
Oh. Yeah.
Fantastic.
It's funny thinking of it now, like looking back, and like I remember when we first started, and every week we were learning a new way to process the audio.
Yeah,
like texting each other, and then it's like it's just the focus was never really on photography. We were like panicking, being like, "Oh, dude, let's do up a list of things to talk about in the episode." And like, if you listen to the pilot episode, which has well over 1,000 downloads now, like it's funny to go back and listen to it, and the audio quality and like the nerves,
it's horrendous.
It was robotic. And
absolutely.
I haven't listened to it. I've never listened back to it, I'm afraid.
Really?
I'd recommend going back and having a listen. It's funny, like, but it's just everything we've learned.
Gosh.
So we'll stick a clip of it in here and now in the edit.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have the. I don't know. Do I have the very first episode? I see you done that. Oh no, I done it. Did I?
You just download it off your favorite podcasting app.
Kev has it.
And of course, we will also have special guests, competitions, and loads of interactive content for our listeners to join in with. And that's it. In this first episode, we'll talk about some of our future show segments and introduce you to the team.
Wow.
Welcome to the tripod.
It sounds like I'm speaking.
Kevin's
through a
like,
song.
Welcome to the tripod.
It's like he forgot his line. He just jumped in there late.
Still is at that time
Hang on.
because we're still recording during the pandemic of COVID-19, but we're not going to talk about that.
But look, we've all listened to it. Everyone who's listened to this has listened to it. But yeah, that was. I sound like I was speaking through a washing machine or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Wow.
Good times. Good times. Look at us now. My fancy
That's-
red headphones and.
I have a random question for you.
Oh God. Here we
It's
go.
eight.
It's photography related question. like.
Okay.
Have you
That's
ever
a
cleaned your
first.
camera? Have you ever got your camera sensor cleaned or done it yourself?
No.
Yes.
Jesus, no. Have
Which
you done
one,
it yourself?
Ronan? Done it yourself?
Which camera?
No.
Oh, sorry. I did it myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fairly straightforward. You just hit it with the blower, turn it upside down, and hit it with the blower, and then you can either use the swabs that they come sterilized, like, and you
Yeah.
make sure if you're buying them that you're buying the right size, because there's APS-C and full frame and different
Yeah.
size ones. But there's a solution you can spray onto the sensor and wipe that off, or you can just do it dry. But look at your sensor and make sure there's no visible specks or dots, because if you do it dry and there's a little bit of dust or a bit of sand or something there, you're gonna rip your sensor apart.
Jesus Christ.
Oh.
See,
But it's
that's
not as
exactly-
intimidating as you think. Like it's handy enough. Like
I done it
Sounds
myself. I cleaned my own sensor, but I only had the Micro Four Thirds swabs, so I need to get full frame ones. You know. Now I didn't have any solution on it. I'm just the thoughts of putting something wet on the sensor. I just
Yeah.
used a dry swab. But it's only because it came up last night. Josh asked me. I said, "Yeah, I done it myself. It's very straightforward." But I mean, I was saying like you could drop it into, and you can't drop it into condenser. I'd say you'd surely have a sensor clean in 20 minutes in a camera shop. Like, would they?
Yeah. Mark
I-
Duffy has a video of you on YouTube of him.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
It's terrifying. It's so scary to look at. You know what I mean? Just watching it, kind of like, please.
So I'm noticing a lot of dust, a lot of kind of fragments on the camera and the sensor now, like, you know. So I think it really needs a cleaning.
Clean.
Do you know what might be happening to you, Sean? This is a pro tip for mirrorless users, and I suppose DSLR users, but not as much because there's no mirror to protect the mirrorless camera. If you have your camera on when you take your lens off, the sensor is electrified and it will produce static and it'll actually draw dust in out of the air. So keep your camera off when you take your lens off, because otherwise you're basically just sucking the dust into it.
Dust. That makes so much sense. I always have my camera on when I'm changing my lens.
Really, I always turn it off because
turn it off. Yeah.
Wow.
See, Ronan, like, you know what I
That's
mean?
an unbelievable
This is why you're here. This is why we've been successful over the last year.
Jesus, that's an unbelievable tip.
It literally is all me, isn't it? When like in hindsight, it's been me 100%.
Yeah, it has to be fair. That's the future. The future. What are we thinking? Like, where are we going?
mean,
where are we going with this?
I mean, global. Look, if like best case scenario, ideal situation for me would be to get Peter McKinnon on the tripod. No, I'm joking. The ideal would be for us to be able to be together and do a live episode.
Yeah. I'm mad into that.
Like, I want it. I want it so bad.
Yeah.
It's almost there. You know, soon we'll have intercounty travel.
Mm-hmm.
Soon we can have 2 households mixing, 3 households mixing, or whatever.
Yeah, that's one.
There can be a time where that will happen.
Vlogs for the YouTube channel.
100%.
Would be
I'd love to do that.
Yeah, they would be really interesting. Another thing I was thinking of, if we could, do like, I don't know how live stream podcasts work, where people could join in live.
Yeah.
And there could be like a chat function. Kind of like
Twitch.
streaming. Like Twitch, yeah.
We're basically Blind Boy.
That could be interesting. Yeah, we're not though, really.
No.
We have to start a gaming channel as well, because that's what all successful YouTubers do. So
Yeah,
that's
seems
right.
that way.
That's right.
Seems that way.
I wouldn't mind as well, maybe like possibly doing a couple of review episodes if people are interested in that. Like, we could maybe try organize that kind of stuff. I don't know if people like listening to that kind of stuff, so it
Yeah.
could just be something you throw in at the end of an episode, maybe. Who knows?
I think you would. Like, I think I'd be interested in hearing someone's honest opinion on a product.
Yeah.
Like, you know, especially if I was thinking of buying it, that's something I'd listen to. Just purely for just practical knowledge. Like, do you know what I mean? I imagine it wouldn't be too entertaining, but it's still, it's information that is necessary.
Correct.
we'll get Sean to do a review on lens balls.
Yeah.
It really hurts if someone throws it at your head. That is my review of the lens ball. All those sort of things would be deadly to do. And if we had more patrons on the Patreon, we could do reviews and stuff. And actually, like, the three of us, when we talk about equipment in the group chat, we're always so honest about it. Like, so I feel like we'd be a trusted source for good reviews.
Even though we're on
tripod.ie,
we're not half biased like towards.
We're not biased against Canon at all.
No, we love Canon. Ian and Canon is a good lad. I know him.
Canon with his ISO variant sensor. Bet you don't know what that means.
I don't know what anything means. I've been winging it from day one.
I'll do an episode on ISO variants and invariants for astrophotography. It's interesting.
Oh yeah.
It's basically like shooting ISO and an ISO invariant sensor. If you shot at ISO 100 and underexposed by 4 stops and cranked it to get it properly exposed, the level of noise will be the exact same as if you shot at ISO 800 and exposed properly. So an ISO invariant sensor is a lot more, it's a lot easier to raise the shadows and stuff and minimal noise. Whereas Canon sensors are ISO variant. So if you underexpose and try and crank your shadows, no sir.
Naughty.
Will not turn out well. So, yeah.
Is that then like when you're buying a camera and they have the ISO native range and then the ISO boosted range?
Yeah, so the ISO native range, no, that's to do with the dynamic range of the camera. So the camera will have a certain amount of stops of dynamic range at different ISOs. So your dynamic range actually decreases with your varying ISO. The ISO invariant and variant is to do with the level of noise that's in the image when you're underexposing an image and raising your shadows and stuff. So the Nikons, Sonys and Fujis have ISO invariant sensors. So if you underexpose your shadows, don't worry. Crank them up there and you should be all right.
Take that, Canon.
We just went down a rabbit hole that was entirely photography related.
Yeah, there you go.
That's a first.
Start of something new.
I'm
It
just
took a year.
I'm just in astrophotography form now because I used my tracker last night. It was the best thing
So,
ever.
do you want to explain to listeners briefly what a tracker is then?
Yeah.
I don't know what a tracker mortgage is.
I don't know what a star tracker is.
Very briefly, a star tracker, basically, so when you're shooting the stars or astrophotography, we all know that the Earth is rotating. So if you can't just shoot a minute-long exposure of the stars, okay, because the stars will be blurred because the Earth is rotating. So the stars are technically moving. What? Do you know what I mean? So
What is this witchcraft?
yeah. So
Next, you'll tell me the Earth is round.
with a tracker, the tracker moves with the rotation of the Earth. So you can shoot a 2 to 3 minute exposure and the stars will be tack sharp. And what does it mean is you can shoot a 2 or 3 minute exposure? Well, it means that you can shoot at a lower ISO and also capture more detail in the likes of the Milky Way or like the nebulas or various constellations that you want to be shooting. So
Gorgeous.
I got one and I shot it last night and I was nervous. I thought I'd make a complete hames of it, but it actually was not bad at all. And I got some very nice images and now I'm just hooked and I wanted to go out shooting astro 7 nights a week.
Do it.
Sandra was right about you.
Yeah.
But how did we get talking about star trackers?
I don't know. How do we get
Canon.
talking about Anton? Like,
I can't remember.
I don't know.
I can't
I was
remember.
trying, I was saying before we finish up the episode, we're talking about our future hopes for this podcast. So we have vlogs, we have live podcasts. A tripod meetup is something that has to happen.
With our
at some
listeners.
stage.
Yes, with our listeners, yes.
100%.
We can go camping or something. That'd be deadly.
Could you imagine how much crack you'd have if there was 40 of us flocking
Oh my
around somewhere
God.
with Nikons and Fujis and gear and all sorts? Like, be
It would be
class.
unbelievable. Yeah, it would be.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
And
So that's
guitars
definitely-
and
and
singing.
guitars, yeah, because like there's,
Yeah.
you know, we figure that there is almost a correlation between photographers and musicianship.
Yeah.
Apart from Ronan, for whatever reason.
Apart from
Yeah.
Ronan, yeah. Just
I
one
listen to
category.
music sometimes,
Yeah, that's true. That's fair.
but only sad songs.
Obviously.
Yeah.
But
That's
yeah, so
true.
like,
there's actually some photographers who also play music.
it's a creative thing. But like, imagine the crack if like we got a busload of people like to somewhere, anywhere.
Oh, be unbelievable. Jeez, that'd be class.
Ideally,
so
it'd
that's
be
something.
over your way, Sean, because of once again,
Out west,
I
yeah.
want to go out west. So
Yeah, you're more than welcome. Even I've been talking to a lot of people there recently. People really enjoy watching stories on Instagram, lads. Cause I wouldn't be a great man to watch stories on myself. I don't have the patience to flick through them, but Jesus, amount of people messaging saying thanks for talking me through your composition
Yeah.
and a couple of
Yeah.
tips there. Do you know, people really appreciate it. But a couple of people, they were like, geez, I'd love to kind of tag along there sometimes. Like, no matters. Whenever I'm hitting,
you
out,
are
I'll
an
let
influencer now, Sean. You know that.
I'll let
like,
you know. I'm not. No,
an
don't use
influencer.
that word. Not at
He's
all.
a fussy influencer on top of the mountain.
No way. No way.
Fussy mountain loving influencer.
Like,
Yeah.
you can come along, no bother, and we'll have the crack and take a few photos. Happy days, you know, and I might learn a thing or two as well.
Absolutely.
You know? So, yeah, the future's
all
looking
love.
bright. The
It's
future's
all
looking
love,
bright for this podcast. So, look, what I would like to say to listeners is just thanks. Sound out. Keep listening and keep sharing it. And if there's anything, obviously, you want to hear, you know, we're always open to ideas. Keep the Facebook group going. I apologize, I haven't been that active on it recently, but I'll get back into it.
Tell
Lads,
your friends.
any final words? Yes, I will. I'm going to go right now.
Tell your friends. Tell all your friends. That is all.
My final words would be this.
Oh,
That was it. No, I'd echo what Sean said. Like, we'd be nothing without listeners. We'd just be three Egypts sitting there with microphones shouting at each other and sending each other pictures on WhatsApp. Like, it's all we are. We aren't some kind of superheroes because we're on the podcast. The podcast is about everyone, really. So thank you to everyone. These are all sound. But if we could have a vote to get rid of Kevin, if people could just put some pressure on there and we can get
happening, lads.
Juliet or Lucy in instead.
I am inevitable.
Oh, we're in the end game now.
That's a great word. Look, thanks very much for listening, lads. Thanks for joining me. Appreciate it. I might have you on again next week.
I appreciate it, John. Thanks very much. Yeah, that's cool. If you need that, let me know.
No matter. Ronan, I'm just gonna. I can't even look at you, to be honest.
Thank you.
Wow. Listener, thanks very much for listening. We appreciate it. Stay safe, and we'll see you next Tuesday.
You didn't ask us to plug our socials.
Tough.
Oh yeah, worst host ever.
Eba.
Bye-bye.